Hey guys, Mark here. I hope you are well. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a simple Turk's head paracord keychain. Here you can see a couple of examples of the keychain that we're going to be making today. You may remember this knot from my previous video, and we're going to upgrade the knot into a keychain. If we take a look at the parts of the keychain, at the bottom we have a Turk's head knot covering a marble. So the Turk's head knot acts as a covering knot. This is a 3-part 4-byte Turk's head. The two exiting strands are then fed through our keyring, and then a 2-stranded Turk's head knot is tied. With this, our keychain is formed. Not that hard. As I've mentioned, this is a simple project that pretty much anyone can do. As far as supplies go, the first thing that you're going to need is some sort of a core for this bottom part of the keychain. So this is a Turk's head knot tightened around some sort of a spherical object. Now for the core, you can use a marble, a ball bearing, a wooden ball, or a round stone, whatever you have. Now the size or diameter of your core is going to determine the number of passes needed in order to cover the entire core. For my project, my core is going to be about 5/8 of an inch in diameter. For this purpose, I can use 3 passes in order to cover up my core. If your core is going to be larger, you're going to need a bit more cord and maybe a pass or 2 more. The next supply is going to be a piece of paracord used to tie the entire keychain. Now for my diameter of a core, so 5/8 of an inch, I'm going to need about 6 feet of paracord. The next supply is going to be a piece of hardware for the top of the keychain, which enables you to attach your keychain onto a set of keys. For this purpose, you can use a keyring, a small snap hook, a carabiner, or even a rope shackle. You have a lot to choose from. You can find many of these in the local hardware store. You're also going to need something to cut your cord with, and a lighter to melt the cut ends of your paracord. With these supplies ready, we can finally begin our small project. We're going to start tying by taking our cord, and first off, we're going to tie the covering knot over our core. Move away from one end of your cord a foot. Twist your long end towards yourself, creating a loop, like this. Do it for a second time. So twist towards yourself, creating a second loop. Place the second loop over the first one like this. Then, using your long end, pass under the standing end, so like this. Then, with your long end, weave through these 4 strands. Over, under, over, under. Like this. Now take your working end and place it alongside the standing end. So over, under, like this. And with this we have tied a single pass of our covering knot. We're now going to add the second and third pass. Take your long end and use it to follow your standing end all through the knot. So we basically chase the standing end through the knot. When you reach the standing end with your long end, so the working end, you have effectively doubled up your knot. At this point, we're going to chase our previous pass for a second time in order to triple up our knot. So again, we go through the entire knot and triple it up. When you reach your standing end again, you have tripled up your knot. After tripling the knot, we're going to flip it upside down, take our cord and place it into the middle of the knot. Then, we're going to slowly tighten up our knot around our core. So we're going to shape it up around, then begin tightening. Start tightening at the longer of the two ends and pull in the longer end a little bit. Then work out the slack into the other end. Now when tightening, it is very important that your strands stay neatly lined up one next to the other, going parallel. This will ensure that you get the best look for your knot. So after one tightening, my knot is still quite loose around my core. I'm going to start tightening it for a second time. Again, I'm going to start at the long end. So the long end is the one into which I have just now worked in my slack. So now I'm going to start at the long end and again start removing slack out of my knot and into the shorter end. Besides tightening the knot, I want to end up with two ends of about equal length. At this point, my covering knot is a lot less loose. I'm still going to need to do one or two more tightenings and then I'm going to get a nice and tight covering knot. All my further tightenings are going to follow the same rule. I'm going to start at the longer of the two ends in order to work in slack into the shorter of the two ends. So again you start at the longer end and you pull out any slack into the other shorter end. Also make sure that your strands stay neatly parallel to get the best look for your covering knot. After tightening my covering knot, it should be quite firm. I'm now going to continue with the second part of this tutorial by tying this top knot. This knot is both decorative and practical. It's going to hold the keyring and my paracord together. To do this, I'm going to take the two ends of my paracord. These two ends should be about equal in length. I'm going to feed them through a keyring like this and fold them like this over the two strands. After feeding my two ends through the keyring, I tied the section right next to the keyring in order to make things easier to see. So I used a piece of thread to hold everything in place. This is not absolutely needed, but for your first knot I do recommend it. Take your two ends and do two wraparounds around the two cords coming out of the covering knot. So the first wraparound and the second one parallel to the first one. My two working ends are now on the bottom right, and I have 4 strands through which I'm going to weave my two ends. The sequence is always going to be under 1 over 1, under 1 over 1. With your first cord, so the one on the left, pass under, over, under, over, like this. Your second end or cord is going to start its sequence under the previous end that I used. So under this bight, under, over, under, over, like this. Now we're going to continue by doubling up this knot. So take one of your ends and remember that we finished with an over. Then pass under the other end, like this. Then follow the strand on the left. So the other strand is also passing under the other end. Then we go over, under, and over on the right side. Pick up your other end on the left side, which is now passing over 2. Then pass under this strand. Again, just like the strand on the left. Then follow the strand on the left all the way to the right side. So we went under, then over, then under again, and over on the right side. Now again, pick up one of the ends and follow the left strand. So we exit parallel to the left strand. Then follow it under, over 2, under 2, and over 2. Take the other end and again follow the strand on the left. So over 2, then re-enter under 2, over 2, under 2, and over 2. At this point, all we need to do is finish up the 2 ends. So again, after we pass over 2, we're going to enter under the entire knot and exit on the right side. Like this. And this doubles up this final part on the left side. Take the other end, which again passes over 2, then travel under the entire knot to the right side, like this, doubling up this part here. And with this our knot is tied. So how do we now tighten it up? It is very easy. You start right here next to the keyring, where our 2 working ends are coming out. Pick out one of the ends, pull it in as much as you can, and work out the slack until you reach one of the ends. Like this. Then you need to tighten up the other end as well. Again, you start here. You pull your end as much as you can into the knot. Like this. I'm going to repeat my tightening process for a second and maybe even a third time. So something like this. After tightening the knot, it should be quite firm and tight. At that point, trim the two ends . Like this. Then roll your knot. To roll the knot, take a plank, press down onto the knot, then roll it to flatten it out. After rolling my knot, I'm going to take some sort of a tool, perhaps a nail, perhaps a lacing needle, and I'm going to use it to push the two ends of my paracord under my knot, just to hide them out of sight. And with this, our project is complete. Guys, I hope that you were able to complete this project without too much of an issue. Tightening up the knots is probably the most time-consuming and challenging part of this tutorial. Other than that, it should be pretty straightforward. I would like to thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.